So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hi, Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. As I try and get my microphone sorted. Jesus, I'm very close to the screen there, and I don't even have my nameplate up at all. Anyway, we got there in the end. How's everyone doing? It's been a while since I've been on, and I've spoken to all of you guys. I hope you're all doing well. But I wanted to come to you today and talk about a player, Samuel Iling-Junior, who has been linked pretty heavily with Aston Villa as part of the Douglas Luiz deal. Now, whatever we feel about the Douglas Luiz deal, this specific podcast tonight is with regards to this player only, siloing him from that deal, because I think it's pretty unfair to have your have a preconceived conception about the player based on the fact that you don't want to lose Douglas Luiz. If that makes sense. And I think it's. I think that's my mindset on it as well. Look, we can all sit here and wax lyrically and lament the fact that Douglas Luiz looks like he's on the way out the door. There's a couple of key aspects with regards to that. And for all of you guys who are in here right now, we will be. You stay where you are. You don't need to go anywhere for the podcast I have with Nima. With Nima later on from the Italian football podcast, we'll be thrown straight into that. I had to create two separate links, so apologies about that. But Nima from the Italian football podcast will be joining us more to talk about the transfer itself, I suppose, the Douglas Luiz side of things, the Weston McKennie and the Samuel Iling-Junior. Whatever way we find ourselves thinking about Douglas Luiz and losing Douglas Luiz within the team, this guy has his own skill sets as well that it's important to understand in a silo on its own, away from the transfer itself. Because Unai Emery would not have signed off on a transfer like this, or somebody like this being part of it. It's not like an old regime whereby you had maybe a Suso buying players, or Johan Lange buying players, and maybe a Dean Smith not fully sure how he's going to integrate them within the team. Monchi and Emery know each other inside out. They're not going to do anything outside the bucket with each other. They're going to be fully milking into the same bucket with regards to this one. And I think that has to be borne in mind with regards to this too. So I just wanted to caveat this one at the very, very start as well. So we're going to have a look at Samuel Iling-Junior. We're going to chat about him. I'm very put off, I must say, about how close the camera is to my face, and I have no idea how I'm going to fix that on the fly here. So I do apologise if anybody's wondering why I'm kind of glinting at the screen here. It seems like it's right shoved up my nose, so I do apologise about that if anybody's anyway squeamish. I didn't mean for that to be the situation. But basically, I suppose Samuel Iling-Junior, he's got exceptional quality, he's got exceptional versatility and untapped potential. And I think that's one of the main things that we're going to be speaking about with regards to this guy. Everybody said it, you've watched this, you've seen any scouting on Iling-Junior, and that's exactly what people say about him. He's got the requisite physical abilities. And once again, what am I going to say with regards to this? Unai Emery and Monchi are scouting players based on this. Players obviously has to have talent, but they also need to have the intangibles as well: pace, power, and a decent physique. A decent, strong physique, and those intangibles that you can't teach somebody. You can't teach somebody to be 6 foot. You can't teach somebody to be wicked fast. Well, I suppose you can teach them to be faster, but not to be wicked fast. And you can't teach somebody to have footballing instinct. We've seen it with Morgan Rogers, as I've said before, with somebody like Samuel Iling-Junior. He's no mug. Chelsea wanted him to stick around. Lots of other teams wanted him, and he backed himself to go to Juventus, to go to Turin during COVID without knowing a scintilla of Italian, and he went there. And he made his way into the team pretty much that year. He made a real big impression. Yes, he played with the Juventus under 23s and the next gen team, if you want to call it, in Serie C. Had a pretty decent season. I think he scored something like 5 goals in 13 games, or maybe 8 goals in 13 games. And he was parachuted into the first team as an 18-year-old. And that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen regularly. We tend to overlook this an awful lot, that in big teams across the world, and very, very good managers like Allegri's a really good manager. You know, he put his trust in this guy at a young age who just come to a new country and was learning a new language, and you know he didn't disappoint. If you want to get a true sense of what Samuel Iling-Junior is, I would advise you to go and watch the 25 or so minutes he played against Benfica in the Champions League 2 years ago. Absolutely outstanding. Came in, changed the game. Juventus were having a stinker. They were down 4-1. And off the bench comes this young man. And I know one swallow doesn't make a summer, you know, with regards to a player, specifically a young player. But he comes off the bench, he gets played in that left winger position, and he just digs out. Like he digs out that full back for the whole game. Comes on for I can't remember who it was Philip Kostic. I can't fully remember who he came on for, but somebody who was pretty experienced. He comes on and he absolutely massacres that right back all day long for the 25 minutes. And he digs out two assists in that game to bring Juventus back to 4-3. And it was one of those games where you kind of think to yourself, you're looking at it and you're going, if there's another 5 minutes in this game, Juventus are drawing level. If there's another 10 minutes in this game, Juventus are winning. He really changed the tenor of the game for someone to be so young. Now, after that game, people in Italy were beginning to rave about him. Now, they were always pretty high in him anyway, but they started to begin to rave about him. He picked up a bit of an ankle injury. And I can't remember off the top of my head how long he was out with that ankle injury. But then when he comes back, there was a small bit of a shift in the team. He started to play a small bit of left wing back for Juventus. Allegri, I think he kind of found that he needed to get him into the team by hook or by crook somewhere. He understood that there was talent and potential there as well. Needed to get him into the team. But as we'll find out, I suppose, when we speak to Nima later on in the next podcast that's coming up after this, Juventus wasn't exactly the happiest camp this season. Allegri is obviously gone now. It looks like Thiago Motta is coming in. The board and Allegri had a big falling out. You know, there wasn't exactly cohesion, I think, between the top table and the dugout with regards to the team. But you know, this guy still went out there. He played 27 games. Yes, he only started 6 of those games this season, and I think a lot of that was because Allegri was being. I don't know. We will get confirmation on this, but I've read it on message boards and stuff like that Allegri played Cambiasso. I think it was Cambiasso over him at times this season, and plus he just didn't really know where best to play Samuel Iling-Junior. And there was a small bit of turmoil, I suppose, within Juventus at that time. But that shouldn't really be something. When you're a 20-year-old player, that isn't a stick to beat you with. You know, when you're a 20-year-old player and you're being asked to play in a completely different position, and there's a bit of turmoil in the boardroom, and then filtering down towards the manager, and the manager isn't seeing eye to eye with board members and so on. You know, it's something to bear in mind when you're a young player. You are going to be shuffled to the back of the pack. I don't blame Samuel Iling-Junior for that at all. But the resilience, I suppose, that he would show as a player is something that I'm looking forward to seeing if he does join Aston Villa, because I think that he will have a whole new lease of life coming back to England, going back to prove himself in the Premier League. He left Chelsea at a very, very young age. He's played in the Champions League. He's played in Serie A, and coming back to prove yourself in the Premier League is something that he's going to relish an awful lot. But let's take a look at his statistics if we can here. And I'm going to try and, oops, what's going on here? Sorry, let's, there we go. Make it look a small bit pretty. I'll try and get into the frame here again. But Samuel Iling-Junior, as I said, from Juventus. Let's take a look at some of his statistics. We're going to take a look at two of his, at him in two different positions. One is left winger, and one is a left back. And we're going to take a look at him, albeit that he only played 890 odd minutes this season for Juventus. We're going to take a look at him in context between the players we currently have playing in those positions, and also within Europe's top 5 leagues as well. So as we always do. So we will take a look at him here. I've marked him down as a left wing back / left midfielder. When we look at his heat map there, we can see that he's all over that left hand side. From which indicates obviously that he was played as a left wing back an awful lot last season. Statistics are actually pretty good, for somebody who's had some turmoil. And what I say about that is the fact that he had only started 6 games this season, played in 29 overall, and only played 900 odd minutes in all competitions. But he scored 1 goal and had 2 assists over the course of the year. And what we can see here is he's a really rounded set of results. I'm going to make this small, a bit bigger for myself because I can't really see it. Very rounded set of results there. When you look at him from a defensive point of view, he's a big lad. He's 5'11", 6 foot, depending on what site you look at. He's left-footed as well, but his tackle percentage, he's blocking per 90 as well, are right up there. And you can see that he embraced that defensive side of things. He knew he had to get into the team, and playing as that left wing back, he came in and he did Trojan work. And once again, when you look at this as well, he's playing in limited minutes over the course of the season, yet he still has big numbers for those tackle percentages, those blocking percentages. The number of percentage of dribblers tackled is right up there as well, 73rd percentile, which is brilliant to see. And when we see there, look, obviously for a fullback, and these percentages here are as per fullbacks as well. He's come in as one of the top aerial threats as a fullback, and you'd expect that as a 6 foot, as a player who's 6 foot as well. There are a lot of fullbacks are on the daintier side. This guy is able to get up there and able to win stuff in the air as well. Another thing I thought was really interesting is his high levels of tackles up the field, whether it be the attacking third or the midfield third. And if Unai Emery does want him to play as a wing back, if we are going to play with with a more defensive right back, or even if we go to 3 at the back, let's say we bring in somebody who can play as a right wing back as well this season, and we go to 3 at the back, that could be something to do. Unai Emery is looking to increase our high press. Maybe with a John McGinn up further forward, somebody on that right as a right wing back, somebody as a left wing back, and Leon Bailey maybe playing off. Maybe Leon Bailey plays as that right wing back. I don't know. It's all to be seen. But there's options. Is what I'm saying. There's versatility here, and I don't want anybody to start talking in the comments about what do you want about, why are you playing Leon Bailey at right wing back. Don't come at me for that. I'm just throwing out potentials here with regards to, unless we forget, Leon Bailey played as a wing-back under Peter Bosch at Leverkusen. I personally don't want him to play there, so no need for any comments in regards to it. I'm not suggesting that he does play there. When we look at the passing statistics here as well, as always, when your pass attempts are low with regards to the rest of Europe's top 5 leagues, his pass completion percentage is right in the middle, 76%. Nothing really to write home about. But then again, as I say, somebody who's playing as a wing back, he was trying to pass that ball forward. We can see here with regards to key passes, shot creating actions, and goal creating actions, he was right up there. So yes, he was. He's ticky-tacky kind of sideways passes and safe passes were not there. We can see that with the pass completion rates. But when this guy did pass, it was a key pass. It was a pass that went forward. It was a pass that meant something. It was a pass that created a shot or created a goal. And I think that they're absolutely outstanding numbers, to see there. And something to bear in mind, and something you probably would expect from a fullback who has come through all his life as a winger. I think you would expect to see those numbers, and it shows probably one of the biggest attack areas that he would have been utilised in was his ability to be able to create stuff from that point of view. Looking at his possession statistics as well, one thing that his successful dribbles are low, but then again his dribbles completed are low as well. So I think he was more tasked with not breaking forward in 23-24. These statistics are just 23-24. And it's worth to bear that in mind when you watch him play. And I watched some of his games from 22-23, and I watched some of his games for England under 21s as well, where he was a lot more progressive, as in he carried the ball forward an awful lot more, and he played more on the front foot as a winger. I think it's really interesting to look at him play there as well, because he's displayed that an awful lot on tape. His ability to do that. When he was playing this Juventus team last year, he was being played as more of a wing back situation. Defense was very much so on his mind, as you can see with regards to the statistics there. And I think as a 19, 20-year-old, specifically as a winger, I think Unai Emery will appreciate that, the rounded ability that you gain from having that. And remember, this is defensive coaching that he's gotten in Italy, which is the home of defensive coaching, and they pride themselves on that. Catenaccio, I think is how you pronounce it, and the ability not to let the forward score. So when you have somebody like this who is naturally somebody who wants to go forward, but has had the aptitude to learn that defensive side of the game from, let's be honest, a really good manager in Massimiliano Allegri as well, and within a team that is famous, the old lady at Turin, Juventus, they've won Champions Leagues, they're a massive force within Italian football. And yes, this year wasn't their year, but they're a team that is famed for good defensive ability, creating good defenders, bringing defenders in, identifying good defenders. And this guy, was under a manager who has a pedigree in doing this and was able to see in him that he could play there as well, which to me makes me pretty excited from the point of view that that he could come in and Unai Emery might try and tweak his game slightly in another way, shape, or form if he does want to play him further forward. So when we look at his radial graph here, for somebody who isn't exactly a fullback, has been a converted fullback or converted wingback over the course of the year, we can see how he stacks up against Luca Dean and against Alex Moreno. And he pretty much is as good, if not better than him in all statistics. So bear that in mind as well, I think, from the defensive point of view. Juventus aren't exactly like Juventus were a team that wanted to come in and wanted to own possession a small bit more this season. It didn't go to plan for them. It didn't go to plan. So they were tasked with defensive actions a small bit more. It's not like they were Man City or in previous years where they've owned the ball and they've just, waltzed the league in Serie A. These guys had to work damn hard to get to the position they got to this season. And Samuel Iling-Junior was somebody who had to do that, coming in, being a young player and having to learn that in a new position. And from a statistical basis, just when we look at it here, we put him up against the two incumbent left backs. The statistics are really, really interesting. Now, let's take a little look at him here from the point of view of how he plays in comparison to our wingers. Now, bear in mind that he was asked to defend an awful lot more this season. We have in the kind of the apricot colour or the orange colour is Morgan Rogers, the white colour is Leon Bailey, the bluish colour is Nicola Zaniolo, who's dispossessed an awful lot last season, and the red colour is Moussa Diaby. So we can see here that in certain areas like his shooting, which you wouldn't expect your full-backs to be brilliant at or to have an awful lot of shots, he is down. His successful dribbles are down on all these guys. But when we look at it, his pass percentage was up there with all the rest of the guys that were there. Shot creating actions was up there with better than Diaby's, better than Zaniolo's, and not a whole pile off the likes of Leon Bailey and Morgan Rogers. But his goal creating actions beats out every single one of our players. He was a goal threat, when he was on the field. Also, the amount of times he was dispossessed was quite low as well. So it's a bit of an unfair comparison based on last year's statistics, but I wanted to show it up there anyway, just so that you guys could get a feel for it. Also, here we are. Here we have I've forgotten to change the statistics on the left-hand side there. Ignore those statistics on the left-hand side. I have no idea who those are. But the ones in white over here, this radial graph, this shows Samuel Iling-Junior's stats in comparison to all fullbacks over the last 365 days within Europe's top 5 leagues, and it shows a pretty decent spread of a radial graph there. We can see from an attacking point of view, which is the green piece here, really, really impressive here. When we look at possession point of view, obviously the attempted passes and the pass completion is low here. His progressive passes are slightly low as well, but we can see some really good numbers here on progressive carries, his touches in the attacking penalty area, and his progressive passes received as well. And also then when we look down here towards his defending in the red here, we can see he's very high for blocks, very high for tackles, and so on as well. So really, really interesting numbers there. And also Samuel Iling-Junior here, these are his numbers with regards to wingers over the last 365 days as well. For wingers who've played 816 minutes or above. So a pretty rounded piece here from a winger point of view, and also a pretty impressive piece from a wing-back point of view as well. So, look, once again, I will say, do we want to be losing a Douglas Luiz? We'd love to keep him. We really would. And that's why I'm going to end the podcast, this part of the podcast, at it. We will be moving over to another link to chat to Nima for our next podcast as well. So hope you'll join us on that one. But are we thrilled to lose Douglas Luiz? We're absolutely not. And I think that's fair enough to say. But should we be excited when we're getting players who come in of the caliber of Samuel Iling-Junior? Yes, we should be, because he's exactly the type of player that Unai Emery will want to work with. As I say, he's young, he's powerful, he's shown that he backs himself from the point of view of moving abroad and learning a new language and forcing his way into a team where there are some pretty big players in that team. So it's an interesting one, and really looking forward to seeing how it pans out. If this is somebody that comes in, well then let's take him under our wing and let's see what he can become. He's a very much a part of the English under-21 side as well. So he's somebody that the English football team are really big on too. We're really high in him too. So you know, this guy's got talent. He's always had talent. He's always had big clubs looking at him. Spurs were looking at him last year. West Ham were looking at him when they were flying it last year as well. I think Borussia Dortmund were interested in him last year also when there was a potential he might leave. And he's now got 1 year left in his contract. And that's one of the reasons I think where Aston Villa are kind of going, we'll take him. We like his potential. We like his intangibles. We like what he's got. And let's take a gamble. Not even so. It's a curated gamble, I think, on it based on the fact that Villa can get him back to England. They've seen him do it in the in continental football, I suppose. I will say more so than just in the Champions League, and they think that they can see something in him. And Monchi and Unai Emery, I'm sure, 100% on board with regards to this. It's an extra body in from a PSR point of view, and also the values can be. I'm reliably informed the values can be utilised towards the balance sheet at the end of the year, which you know, is something that is worth bearing in mind. So that's Samuel Iling-Junior. Interesting profile. Very, very interesting watch. When you watch him, he is very much that a guy who will stick to his wide position as opposed to being that inverted forward. Like Morgan Rogers, for those who are asking maybe about Morgan Rogers, he can come inside and carry the ball through the middle. Iling-Junior likes to go wide and likes to stay wide as well. So if Aston Villa do sign him, he's definitely going to be that and a very, very interesting player. And I, for one, I'm going to be looking forward to his progression in the Unai Emery. So that's going to do it for this podcast. We will see you over on the other link on YouTube, or even if just stay where you are. You're going to be kicked straight into it in a moment once we hit the end stream here. And we'll chat to all of you guys, and we'll be having a great chat with Nima from the Italian Football Podcast as well in one moment. So hope to see you all over there. Stay safe until I see you in a minute's time. Stay healthy until I see you in a minute's time. And all that's left to say is up the Villa. And I forgot my ending screen. There we go. Up the Villa. I still forgot it.